Hey, welcome today. I'm glad you could join us. I'm with my good friend Chris McClure. He's an author of the book Way to Greatness and a coach with Lead Life Big. And today we're going to really just talk about how do we prepare now to be better later. That's for husbands, for wives, for fathers, for mothers. That's for people who are in work, who are not work, who are bosses, who are leaders. Just really, how do we do that in this season of crazy mixed upside down world we're in? So before we jump into that question, though, I wanted to kind of just say, hey, Chris, welcome. Glad you could join in and could have a little conversation. It's good to connect with you, of course, and see you in this time. How have you been doing?
Yeah, we're doing well actually. And again, it's great to do this. I think that it's funny because I think the whole world has been introduced to this phenomenon called video conferencing
Yeah.
these days,
Yep.
and so it's pretty amazing. But actually, we're doing well. Our family has stayed healthy, which is awesome. Adjusting to the e-learning, adjustment for school right now. My wife's a teacher, so she's having to do things a little differently. Our kids are adjusting, and just trying to stay positive. And one of the things I've realized through all this that our kids are just kind of following our lead. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's really important. I talk to leaders all the time about this. That followers go as the leaders go, and I think it's true because you know kids go as their parents go, or their coaches go, or their teachers go, and so that's kind of what I'm seeing with us is we're just trying to take everything in stride and keep doing what we need to do each day. And um, been actually amazed at how our kids are 13, 11, and 9. So
Oh,
I think
yeah.
they're kind of in this sweet spot right now because I've talked to people who have little kids and they're going crazy.
Mhm.
And I've talked to people who have older kids that are like you, like 20 somethings, college age and beyond, that feel like, my freedom as a young adult is being hindered. And so they're struggling. Right. And so I'm really feeling grateful where our kids are right now because they're bummed that they're not playing soccer or baseball and with their friends on one level and at school, but at the same time, it's like this big extended spring break, and they're just happy to not be doing schoolwork at the level they were.
Yeah. And at some point, I think for us, we're kind of in that few weeks. So it just feels like an extended break. But at some
Yeah,
point, it's going to move from this just isn't spring break. It's different. It's a new normal. I
yeah,
know, for me, I have a college student, like you said, but I also have a senior in high school,
mm,
and there's no prom, there's no graduation probably right now. There's no, it's interesting. Like the kids, especially in his situation, he walks out of school one day, and he may never see a lot of those people again. uh,
yeah,
for a lot of kids, they do get to go back next year, hopefully, and all that. But yeah, it's just a crazy world we're living in. So how families are
yeah.
adjusting this has been different. It's been different for every family. It's different based on age, like you said. So it has
Hmm.
been a little different. But also, in the idea, you are an author of the book called The Way to Greatness. I would tell us a little bit about the book. What is it about?
Yeah, so really the book, it's interesting. I got connected a few years ago to this community of authors through my publisher and my author coach. And I started to be around these people that had these incredible messages that were helping a lot of people. And I found myself really asking God, like, what is my message? Like, what is the thing that you want me to help people with? And I really wrestled with that for a while. And actually, March 30th, just a few days ago, was 2 years, the 2 year anniversary of when I literally was sitting right here in my office. I spun around in this very chair and went to my whiteboard and wrote down 5 choices or 5 ideas that God had given me. Because so my business is my LLC is Lead Life Big, and Big stands for Be Intentionally Great. And I was working on this website redesign project. My web designer was asking me just some questions about just kind of messaging and how to help me with it. And I really started to be like, God, what does it truly mean to lead a great life, to be intentionally great? And one of my favorite verses is John 10:10, where Jesus says, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, but I have come to give them life to the full." Some versions say rich or satisfying, abundant life. And that became kind of my life message. I think that God was kind of framing this in. And so great stands for God-centered living, relational health, enthusiastic mindset, asset stewardship, and time maximization. And what I realized is he gave me those 5 statements that they were really five choices we make. And they're the five choices that I see us as human beings wrestling with, dealing with all the time in some way, shape, or form. And most of our challenges fall into one of those categories because it's about faith, it's about relationships, it's about our mindset, it's about managing our resources, whether that be money or possessions or our health, and then time. Time is our most um, it's an unrenewable resource. It's our greatest asset that we often squander, and I see a lot of people frustrated with, I don't have enough time, I'm too busy or whatever. So that became kind of the thrust of this book, was how do we take those five areas of our life, those five things, and really make wise choices so that we can experience the great life. That's what I call the John 10:10 life, is this great life that God really wanted us to live in the first place, that He created us to live. And so that's really the premise of the book. And so the book has these five choices, and each of these five choices, there's a 5-step action plan to walk you through how do you go from where you are to where you want to be in each of these five areas.
Mhm.
And so it's very practical. I'm a coach at heart. And so the book is a coaching book. I was actually just talking to a friend of mine today. I mean, it's full of questions. And actually, I had to create a digital workbook for it, because I had advanced readers going, there are so many questions in this book. I need something to write this down on, not
Mhm.
just, have. And so I created a workbook to kind of be a companion to this. But it's really a coaching book because there's a lot of questions that's processed through and a lot of exercises to do, and it's not a quick read. It's not a super thick book. I mean, here's the it's from that standpoint, but there's in this 185-page book, there's a ton of questions to process, and
Mhm.
and I did that intentionally because I wanted people to really slow down and think about these areas of their life so they could experience the life God created them to live.
Mhm. Yeah, and for someone who's sitting there thinking, "Hey, I want that abundant life. I'd like to get a copy of that book." But also, I think for this is a great book for someone who leads teams, a staff team somewhere, or someone
Mhm.
that is developing people. Whether you're a boss or a supervisor or whatever, it'd be a great book to take your team through as well. But if
Mhm.
someone wanted to get a copy of this book, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, the quickest way at this point, go to leadlifebig.com, leadlifebig.com, and at the top of my webpage right now, I've actually got an offer where you can get the book for free. Just pay the shipping
Oh
and
wow,
handling. I'll
yeah.
drop it in the mail to you. Just wanting to get the message out there, because my passion, my heart. I mean, I was a full time pastor like yourself for more than 20 years, and what part of my journey has been is God called me from being an executive pastor in my last role to being a pastor to executives and leaders.
Mm.
So it kind of like you kind of flipped the script on me a little bit. And so very involved in our church, still very involved in, I'm on our preaching team at our church and rotate in on that. But now my day job, so to speak, is really coaching business owners, executives, and individuals who want to just really up level their life and their leadership.
Yeah, that's great. So with leadlifebig.com, that's your website. You are a coach as well as an author.
Mhm.
But with that, what is for someone who may not know what coaching is or what that you would actually be doing with that? Explain a little bit about
Yep.
what that looks like for people.
Yeah, yeah. So I didn't know what coaching was either. As far as I knew what it was in theory, I guess, but not by name when I first started this journey about 5 years ago. Coaching really is a partnership that you have a guide that helps you really think through different areas of your life or your leadership so that you can go to that next level. And so I've heard it called a thinking partner. I've heard it. Sometimes it's you just need somebody just a little bit further ahead of you to tell you what the next best steps are to help you get there. Sometimes you just need somebody to help you kind of process through the challenges or opportunities you have in front of you. And so that's mostly what I do is, as an executive coach working inside companies and with small business owners, most of the time it's looking at personnel, the people side of the business. How do I help myself become a better leader? How do I help develop a better team? How do I help deal with people challenges? But on more of a personal side, because I kind of have two branches to what I do. I've got the executive leadership side, and then I've got more of the personal life side, I'd call it. But and that's where kind of my book really plays into for a lot of people is helping them just look at these five areas of their life and how do I get better as a husband or a wife? How do I get better, with my finances and my resources? How do I get better to, learn how to use my time so I'm really not wasting and squandering it? So walking through each of these choices, and so that's kind of, it's just helping people really go on a journey. And that's kind of the metaphor that I've really kind of embraced, is it's like everything we do is kind of like climbing a mountain or going on a hike, and you have to take the next step, and the next step right now might be easy or it might be hard, and then there's a next step after that and the next step after that. So
Yeah.
being a coach is helping you take that next step so that you can really go farther faster, because you're not trying to figure it out on your own all the
Hmm. Yeah, and that's great because I know for us, kind of that's hitting right where we want to go with the heart of today's conversation. I,
time.
I've been thinking a lot about. I started the Facebook page here, perspective in a pandemic, partly because I had the virus and it changed my view of things, and people wanted to know a lot about it. But during this time, our perspective when our circumstances are not what we think is really important. It shapes how we act and who we are and all those things. And so I know we talked a little bit, and we kind of been talking a little bit about this idea that typically there are kind of two kinds of people right this minute, and probably more than that. But some of us are taking this season and just saying, "I want to hit the pause button. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to get by, get through. Can't wait. All I can wait is till we get to when it's over." And with that, and I get that perspective. Maybe they're struggling with worry or fear or anxiety or some of those kind of things, and for them it's just in their mind they want to get through the next spot. But then there's another kind of person who I think you're going to be really targeting just a minute with, and says, "Hey, I don't want to waste the wait." I heard that phrase from someone recently, is
Hmm.
idea of we don't want to waste the wait.
Yeah.
An idea of, in that, what do we do with that? So for me, I'd love to kind of hear from you on, why isn't it, would it be important for someone to move from, I'm just hitting the pause button, I'm just getting by, I just want to get through it, to, hey, how can I prepare now to be better later?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing that just even it's kind of my mind is, as you're asking that question, is, you know, while I would say I hope that we would want to grow during this time, I also want to encourage people to also rest during this time.
Mm, good point.
One of the things that I've noticed that about just our society, myself, our family, right, that the first week or two, especially, of this journey of really hitting that, being uh, stuck at home, so to speak, or feeling, very isolated, and to try to stay healthy and keep others healthy, there was like this busyness detox that I
Mhm.
find this in myself sometimes, where I've been running hard and hot for too long, and when I slow down, like my body physically, I have physical feelings in like jitteriness, that I'm like busy, 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 and now you're making me stop. So they're resting right now is, I think, very important. Let's take advantage of the time to rest. That's part of not wasting that waiting period, I think. So that may feel like pausing on one hand, but it's actually very intentional.
Mm.
So that there's that. The other angle that I've been talking to a lot of people about, to your point, is, I think that the bottom line is our world will never be the same in different ways, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, I know right now we have concerns about our economy or our personal finances, or job situations. I mean, those are real things. Health concerns, obviously, that's driving this. But there's this other side of, in this time, for me, it's like I've had people say, I don't have any new free time. I'm like, well, do you really not? Because even if you're working your job, are you really going about your days the same way? Are you
Mhm.
really going out to eat or to the sports fields or practice, all these things that you were doing? I think that some people are not really thinking about the margin that they do have, because maybe their job hasn't really changed, they're still an essential worker out there. But for like us, baseball season is on hold, soccer season's on hold. So at minimum, we have the evenings free that we didn't have before when we were going to practice and games. So what do we do even during that as a family to get better? For us, we
Yeah.
we hang out a lot more than we normally would. Um, we're eating dinner around the table a whole lot more than we would this time of year
Mhm.
normally, because we're normally like trying to figure out when are we going to eat between practices, and my wife going one direction with one kid and I'm going another, and what do we do with our third, and like who's going where. But then there's this other side of personal growth and development. No matter what your job is, no matter whether you have your own business or whether you're an employee at a company, this is an opportunity for us to grow and invest in ourselves so that when normal comes back, whatever that looks like, we are more valuable to
Mhm.
our profession, to our organization, to our clients and customers. And
Yeah.
that's really where I'm choosing to be is like I've invested and really made a choice that for the month of April, for me, for my own business, I really needed to study marketing more. I needed to understand marketing because I came from a ministry background that was never a thought that I really thought too much about. And now I've got a business where I'm trying to get my message out there with my book and my coaching programs and all this. That's just an area that I need to grow in. And so for me, I'm diving deep right now in that area. So I'm just trying to help people think about what's at least one area that you can use this time to get better in, whether it be like you said, be a spouse, be a parent, be a
Mhm.
work, an employee or a leader, whatever the thing is, go deep for a while in that and just do some reading or do some, watching videos or listening to podcasts or take a course, whatever the thing is that can help you.
Yeah, and as you kind of look at that, it is a fact that our normal, what we were doing, uh, it is going to be different. I think that's a perspective that,
Mhm.
but in that, we should always be seeking to grow because I think you find that value and purpose anyway. Now, with that though, kind of as we close off our time here, just thinking about it, what would be the ways you would tell someone or give some helpful advice or wisdom on how can, like someone said, all right, I made the decision, I want to get better, I want to prepare now. What can I start doing today to help me to be better later?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest keys in that is looking for people who are ahead of you, but not too far ahead of you. One of the things that I've learned for myself is I can look at experts who are like, who've been doing what they're doing for 30 or 40 years, and I can aspire to be like them someday. But they're so far ahead of me that I really don't know what the next five steps look like. So
Mhm.
what I would encourage you is who are some people who are where you want to be ultimately, but they're not 20, 30 years ahead of you. They're maybe 5 years ahead of you or five steps ahead of you so that you can say, okay, what did they do to get where they are? And then you work to get there. And then it's like, okay, from there, look at them for either what they're now doing or what another person is doing. So I think a lot of it is that once you determine, what your goal is, then look for somebody who can be kind of that guide and mentor to you, whether it's one-on-one as like a coach and leader, or whether it's, an author or, a speaker, a trainer that you can engage with them more virtually, through their books and courses. But I think that's probably the key, because it's easy to get frustrated when you're trying to grow that you you could feel like they're too far ahead of me. I don't even know where to begin. So
Mhm.
just look for the guide or somebody that's an example. We all need models in our lives. And I mean, I think as believers, it's easy, on one hand, we look at Jesus and that's great and we should, but then it's like, well, I'm not Jesus, like I'm not perfect. And,
Mhm.
it's like, we need to look for other believers who have been journeying with, in their faith for a while that we can learn from what did they do. So yes, once again, find a model that can really, I guess, make it reasonable for you to follow, and then I think you'll be more encouraged to keep moving forward because you won't feel like it's so far off.
Yeah, yeah, and I think as we're kind of going through this time here and thinking, one of the things I really liked about what you said earlier is kind of the reason why you even wrote the book is you were looking for that. What is the thing that resonates with you that based upon your story, your life, what you've learned that you want others to know? I think every single
Yeah,
person has that. We all have that one thing, and maybe there's more than one thing, but there really is one or two or three things that really resonate with us that we just want people
yeah,
to know. And it's kind of like, how do we get better at that? How do we start
yeah,
focusing on that? How do we help people to be encouraged in that way? And then also just the idea here of in our lives, what are we doing today to not waste the wait, to be prepared so that as things start to shift, and I think, like you said, it's not going to be the same normal, but as we get back to that we are better in our marriages, better as a father, better as a mother, better as someone in a business or an owner or a leader or a supervisor, because we see the value of that. So yeah, that's great stuff. I really appreciate it, and hopefully, as people watch this, they're going to be encouraged. And I would love to say that, hey, take a moment. I mean, this is great. You're offering the book for free. I think that's pretty amazing. To go to your leadlifebig.com website and then figure out how to do that. Now, I know this is not a forever free. So if somehow
Right.
you're watching this and it's months down the road or something, and you happen to see this video, it may not be available free at that point. But during this season, right now, you're offering that, and this is just a great resource. So if you're here today and you're thinking to yourself, I want to be prepared, I want to be better later, I think the great thing to do is find somebody and then go to your website and get the book, start looking at it, asking those questions, and I think they're
Yeah.
going to find
Well,
it.
and I do want to say on my website too, not only is the book
Mhm.
that, offer there, but I have a podcast that I release an
Okay.
episode every week to just kind of, I did, when I first started the podcast, I kind of did episodes to kind of expand my thoughts on the book and each of the action steps. I have a blog, where I write articles there too. So there's some different resources even beyond the book that's all tied together. So if people are looking for, different things to hear and listen to. I do some interviews with folks who are modeling this, and
Mhm.
that's something I get excited about, to hear from different people's stories as well. Kevin, one of the things you said, just maybe my last thought on this is, you know, when I first began my business, I kept hearing things like, who's your ideal audience? Who's your ideal customer or client, right? And it makes sense from a marketing standpoint, but it was very frustrating to me. And it finally hit me one day. Could my ideal person that I can help be like me,
Mhm.
where I've been? And you mentioned that a minute, like whether it's a passion area, whether it's a frustration you've dealt with and you've learned how to handle that. So think about the people around you. So not only is it about getting better to be more valuable, but also maybe there's people right around your midst that you could help through where you've been already. And you don't have to write a book to do that.
Right,
You
right.
you can pick up the phone and make a call. You could write a blog post, you could do a video, type a thing like this, whatever it is. But so realize that you have a unique message because you've had your own unique challenges, you've had your own journey,
Mhm.
and you're not alone. Other people, that's the thing, is other people, they're looking for you even, uh, to guide them, because you may be that person that's just a few steps ahead
Yeah.
that they're looking for. So I just want to encourage people to think about that, because I think it's easy for us to always look like, who are we chasing after or growing or trying to become like more,
Mhm.
and we forget about there's people coming behind us too
Mhm.
that need us and our help just where we've been.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's not just that we look to find that person for us, but who are the people in our life? And if you're married, then of course spouse is involved with that. And if
Sure.
you have a parent, that your kids are. But yeah, there are other people in your world, and that you can encourage, be part of, and stuff. Well, I really appreciate the time connecting with you and chatting with you again. And yeah, I get your blogs every day, and you can also find you on social media, where I know that you're constantly posting helps and encouragements and leadership and life
Yeah.
on a regular basis. It's just been I've been really encouraged by a lot of things you've been sharing and saying. So thanks, man. Appreciate you, and
Yeah. Well,
look
thanks
forward to
for
connecting
this.
again soon. All
It's
right,
been
thanks.
fun.